Nelson Mandela, which is a South African president, stated in a launch network to kind of start a network called Mindset in 2003, saying that education is the power of the world. So today I'm going to be teaching you how to choose a college to go to with 3 important aspects. The first aspect is going to be your social aspect. The second aspect is going to be your educational. And the third is going to be the future aspect, which has to do with your money, your loans, all the stuff that you kind of have to spend to go to college. So for the first aspect, it's going to be your social aspect, which has to do with your sororities, your clubs, your fraternities, all the stuff to kind of get into the college mindset. So if you can, right here. I have shown you, I just went on to usc.org and I simply typed in sororities, which you can do for any simple college that you have or that you are willing to choose from. And you simply type in sorority, fraternity, clubs that are offered on campus, and you can clearly see that there are many sororities and fraternities offered. And each sorority and fraternity usually has to do with the Greek system, so you have your alpha, gammas, your phi sigmas, and they all have to do with genders. So fraternity is your gender for males, and sororities is a gender for females. All right? And then this is for 4-year colleges. So you have your USCs, your big name schools, UCLA, Pepperdine. You have all the major schools that people sometimes dream of getting into. And then next you have for community colleges. Sadly, they do not offer sororities and fraternities, which I know is sometimes people look into that because families do have a generation of going into sororities and fraternities. So maybe community college isn't for you if you're looking into going into one of those things. But community colleges do have clubs and organizations that you can get into, which have to do with your gender, your race, your religion, anything that you're interested in. Most likely your community college, your 4-year college, or even a private college may have for you. So for private colleges, they also have clubs and organizations that you can join, but some may or may not have sororities and fraternities because private schools are mainly based on religion, gender, certain stuff like that. So now that I talked to you about the social aspects of getting into a college, you have to think about the educational aspects, which is the main reason why you're there in the first place. So, Janice Crompton, which is a admissions counselor for Square Hill College in Pennsylvania, stated in 2016 that no matter what test score you get, if you get a perfect SAT score or a perfect ACT score, that doesn't necessarily mean that you're getting into the college of your dreams right away. So, for your 4-year colleges, you have SATs and ACTs that you should be taking anyways to get into any college that you wish to go to. But 4-year colleges do sometimes require that they have an SAT score and an ACT score on file for you to take. But just because you don't get a high score doesn't automatically mean that you're not getting in. So you actually have majors that you have to get into mindset, which you don't necessarily need at the moment, but you will need eventually down the line. So it's something to think about throughout your high school years, whether you think that you know what major, what interests you, what you don't want to do for sure, to kind of narrow down your options. So community college also has a way of showing you that you can narrow down your major. They actually have sometimes you go to counselors, sometimes you go to clubs that actually help you decide on what major you should choose from. And then private colleges as well, those are kind of the same aspect. You know kind of what major you're going into, you know what you really want to study in, and then this is kind of a more private setting with your professor. There's less people in the classroom. Rather than 60 in a classroom with one professor, you have about maybe 15 or 20 with your professor as well. So now that I've talked to you about the educational aspects when it comes to 4-year universities, community colleges, and private colleges, I'm going to talk to you about the future aspects. And this has to do with all the money that you're going to have to spend. This has to do with the money that you're going to have to pay back over time if needed. And one thing to really help you is this special aid right here that almost every college student uses when they go to college. So you have your FAFSA, which is the free application for federal student aid. Let me go ahead and turn it off. Which is for students that sometimes need a little bit of help getting to pay for college. This is free money from the government sometimes, or you can assess loans that you need to take out, or anything like that as such for a 4-year community college, or even a private college as well. So when you go to a 4-year college, which is a little bit more expensive than a community college, you need to put into aspects of how am I going to pay for this over time, how long am I going to be at college for, because some loans don't require you to pay your loans off until after you're done getting your degree and 6 months after you graduate. But for community colleges, you have to pay by semester. So each semester that you take, you need to pay your tuition kind of for the classes and the units that you take, along with your books, before you get into the next semester, or you won't be allowed to enroll within the classes that you want. And the private colleges are a little bit more expensive because they're more intimate relationship with their students. There's less students there to keep the university or college running, so you kind of need to keep that in mind as well. So now that I talked to you about the social aspects, the educational aspects, and the future aspects that you have to keep in mind when picking a college, I hope that this really helps you and encourages you to narrow down your options and choose. So when Nelson Mandela said, use your education as a weapon to change the world. Thank you.